Okay, the essential question for today's lesson is the same as in the previous lesson. How do we write the equation of a line in slope-intercept form? So we're sticking with the same concept. We're just taking it up a couple of levels and adding a couple of extra things to it. So let's take a look at example 1. Write an equation of the line that passes through the point 6, 3 and has a slope of -2. So I have some steps on the left, and then we'll work out the solution on the right-hand side. So first, if not given, you want to make sure that you find the slope. So in this case, we are given the slope, so we don't have to do this one, but when we look at another example, we would have to find the slope first. So that would be your first step, is to check to see if you have to find the slope. We don't have to do it here, so we're going to write our slope-intercept form, plug in the slope, which is -2, and then the only part we need now is the b part. So let's see what we have. Find the y-intercept using the y equals mx plus b equation, and the given point. 4 points. Could be given more than 1 point, but you would use one of those points to help you find the y-intercept. So if you look up at the point that we have, so here's our point, 6, 3. The 6 represents an x value, the 3 represents a y value. So then we take those values and plug them into our equation to find the b. So we have the y, in this case y is 3. -2 times my x is 6, plus b. Now we solve for b, so 3 equals -12 plus b, add 12 to both sides, and we get b is equal to 15. So once you have found both the slope and the b value, you can write the equation in slope-intercept form. A little bit later, we're going to talk about function notation and when you should write the equation in function notation. In this particular case, it's perfectly okay to just write it as y equals -2x plus 15. But sometimes we will have to go back to the function notation, which is just changing your y to f of x. And so we'll talk about that when we get there. Okay, the next example. Write an equation of the line that passes through the points 3, 0 and 2, -4. So remember our steps. Let's go back up and look at those again real quick. Step 1. Find the slope if it's not given. Are we given the slope in this case? I have a point 3, 0, and I have a point 2, -4, but nowhere does it give me a slope. So you're going to write the slope formula. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then you're going to plug in your numbers. So this is x1, y1, x2, y2. So y2 I have labeled as -4, minus y1, which is 0, over x2, which is 2, minus x1, which is 3. So on top, that gives me -4. On bottom, -1. So my slope is 4. Step 2 is to find the y-intercept using one of the points given and your y equals mx plus b. So I'll start with the y equals mx plus b. I know my m value now. I just found it. That's my slope. So y equals 4x plus b. And now I need to find the b. So this equation is almost done. I just need a number in that spot. So to help me find that number, we're going to use one of our points. You could either use the 3, 0 or the 2, -4. Either one gives you the same result. So I'm going to go ahead and use the 3, 0. So the y is 0. 4 times the x is 3, plus b. So that 0 equals 12 plus b minus the 12 on both sides. And we have b is equal to -12. And now we write our final equation. Y equals 4x minus 12. This is my final equation. Notice that the final equation has a y and an x in it. So the only numbers in the equation is the slope number, the m, and the y value of your y-intercept, the -12 part, the b part. Those are the only numbers that you put into the equation. And then the x and the y are still part of the equation. That is your final answer. Next, we want to write the equation for a linear function with the values f of 2 equal to 8 and f of negative 2 equal to negative 4. So notice the notation that's being used here. So we have f of 2 equals 8. Remember, that's function notation. We did some of that in the last standard. So you would want to rewrite that. Remember the format, what that represents. Rewrite it as an ordered pair. So the number in the parentheses is your x value, and then remember f of x equals the y value. So x is 2, y is 8. Same thing with the other point, negative 2, negative 4. Now we have 2 points. We don't know the slope yet, so we have to find the slope first. M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then we plug in our numbers. So I'm going to make this one my x2, y2, this one my x1, y1. Doesn't matter which one is your first point and which one is your second point. You should get the same slope in the end. So y2 is 8 minus your y1, which is negative 4. x2 is 2 minus x1, which is negative 2. Okay, remember when you have two negatives, okay, minus a negative number, that's a plus, so that's 8 plus 4. 2 plus 2, 12 over 4, which is 3. So the slope in this case is 3. So now we need to find our b value. So we have y equals mx plus b. We have our m value. M is 3. And now we need to find b. So remember, to find b, you pick one of your points. Doesn't matter which one. You can use the 2, 8, or the negative 2, negative 4. So pick one. I'm going to use the 2 and the 8. So my y value is 8. 3 times the x value, x is 2, plus b. And then solve for the b. So 8 equals 6 plus b minus 6 on both sides. I get 2 is equal to b. So we could write our equation, y equals 3x plus 2. Now, this is not our final equation. This is a case where we have to use function notation. The problem started in function notation using f of 2 equal to 8 and f of negative 2 equal to negative 4. Since it started in function notation, we want to end in function notation. So you're going to change your y value to f of x. Everything else stays the same. That is your final answer. Next, we're going to take a look at an application. So we have a BMX racetrack charges a membership fee and an entry fee per race. So remember that per part. That was a key word. We've talked about that before. One racer paid a total of $76 after 3 races. Another racer paid a total of $124 after 7 races. So we're going to organize some of this information so that we can answer the questions. There is a part C below, so we will look at that. So let's see. Remember that per. I said that was going to be a helpful word. Anytime you're looking at a word problem, if you see that. So there's an entry fee per race. So typically that is where we're going to find our multiplication and our variable. Our variable usually comes after the per part. So per race. X equals number of races. Now that's going to be helpful to set up our ordered pairs. We have information, $76 for 3 races, $124 for 7 races. So you can set up an ordered pair. Remember, X is the number of races. So 3 races equals $76. And 7 races is $124. So we are able to use this information and set up 2 ordered pairs. Now we can use that to help us answer some of our other questions. So the first one, what is the entry fee per race? So if we look at that, entry fee per race that's going to be the fee times the number of races. So if my races is my x variable, then the fee is the slope. It's the number in front of the x. So we're going to find the entry fee by finding the slope. So we have y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, it doesn't matter which one is x1, y1, and which one is x2, y2. You just have to be consistent. So my y2 is 124 minus the y1, which is 76. x2 is 7 minus x1, which is 3, and then we simplify that. So on the bottom we have a 4. On the top we have a 48. So that equals $12. So that is my entry fee. So that's the entry fee, $12. Now we want to know, how much does the track membership cost? So let's do some translating of what we have up here again. So we have an entry fee per race. That was my x, because that's the per race part. So this is the races. And then we're adding an additional membership fee. Okay, so then we're going to add an additional membership fee. So if we let this equal y, and we'll talk about the y and the x in a little bit, the membership fee, mx plus, is in the b spot. So what we're being asked in part B is to find that y value of the y-intercept. So let's plug in what we have. So I have an entry fee, which is my m. So y equals 12x plus b. b is what I'm trying to find. So use one of your points. So maybe the 376. So the y value is 76. 12 times 3, because the x value is 3, plus b. And now we can find b. So 76 equals 36 plus b, minus the 36 on both sides. And you get b is equal to 40. So that's $40. The membership fee is $40. And let's look at part C. So down here at the bottom it says write an equation that gives the total cost as a function of the number of races entered. So there's that phrase I was telling you about before, as a function of is a very important phrase. Anytime you see that phrase, as a function of, whatever is in front is your y variable, and whatever comes after is your x variable. So we can define our variables. X equals number of races, and y equals total cost. And we have all the information from parts A and B that we need to write our final equation. Y equals 12x plus 40. Now it also talked about function notation as a function of, so we could rewrite this in function notation. F of x equals 12x plus 40. Okay? And then as far as defining your variables, remember the f of x is the same as y. So you can just say the y is equal to the f of x, which is equal to total cost, and that would be okay. So you've defined all of your variables. You've written in function notation because it's asking you to write it as a function of. And that completes all parts of this problem. We'll do some more practice with this next class. In the meantime, I have a little bit of practice here at the end. So on the left side of your notebook, opposite page of your notes, if you could answer each of these questions, and then we will check them when we get back to class.